Well, that was quick. Jackson Kowar's major league debut, it lasted 39 pitches, and he didn't get out of the first inning. Not a memorable first game for the prized prospect, but better days are ahead, no doubt. We discuss Kowar's debut and other Royals topics on today's SportsBeat KC with beat writer Lynn Worthy and columnist Vahe, Gregorian, and Sam Mellinger. It is Tuesday, June 8th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. We also get into the next injury suffered by shortstop Adalberto Mondesi and whether the Royals can count on the player with the greatest potential to be available on a regular basis. The show started as a SportsBeat Live, and we now present it in podcast form. Thanks for listening. Hey, good morning from Kansas City, and welcome to SportsBeat Live. This is our weekly chat session where we talk Royals with the folks at the Star who cover the team and with you. Please send us your questions and comments and join in the conversation. A shout out to our sponsor, the University of Kansas Health System. You'll hear from them a little later in the show. Let's say good morning to beat writer Lynn Worthy and columnist Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian. Hello, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, let's try not to bunt into a triple play today. Okay, a little bit of a cheap shot there, but we also get started with not the best of news. That's Jackson Kowar's major league debut on Monday night. I've got the numbers here. Let me read them to you. He got the start. He lasted 2/3 of an inning, threw 39 pitches, 21 for strikes. Oof. Faced 7 batters, surrendered 3 hits, 4 runs, all earned, threw 3 wild pitches before Mike Matheny mercifully got him out of the game for Urban Santana. Lynn, just take us through the decision to give Kowar the start, and then we'll talk about maybe where it goes from here.
Yeah, he'd been, their best pitcher in the minors, at least statistically. He's right there with the guys, that group with Singer, Bubich, Daniel Lynch. They'd all been, spring training, big league camp 2 years in a row. They were a part of the alternate site. They're, top prospects. I think coming into this year, Kowar was a top 100 prospect by Baseball America, one of the top 4 prospects in their farm system by both Baseball America and MLB.com. And he just, in 6 starts at AAA, he'd been lights out. So things looked like they were lined up for him. I saw, of course, not that it's an indicator of what the organization should do, but you started to see in the last couple of weeks, social media, Royals fans talking about, well, they're not trying to win if they don't bring up Jackson Kowar. Well, they brought up Jackson Kowar.
And they didn't win last night, losing 8-3 to the Angels. You're right. He was he won the monthly award for the AAA in AAA Pitcher of the Year for the East, I guess it was. There was great anticipation. I know that when some of the talk that you were hearing was that Kowar might have the biggest or the best upside of any of the early 2018 pitchers taken in that draft, and we just didn't see it last night. Certainly, as you said, Lynn, the numbers in Omaha were terrific. I suspect that we'll see better performances from Jackson Kowar, but just a shame. Really, Vahe, isn't it, that it started this way for him?
It is because, it's such a thrill, right, when this is happening, especially with the guy as touted as he is. And the Royals do a nice job making a big fuss about it. He'll get his jersey from that game, and it'll be in a frame, but it won't look the same as it would if he'd had a really nice debut, I think. I'm struck by one thing, and you guys are all equipped to expand on it better than I am, but there is this place in between what more can he do in AAA and he's ready. And it's an interesting thing, right? And I make no judgment yet on whether he's going to be good in his next start. Who knows? It might be, to quote Sam Mellinger, just that he was nervy. last night? It's hard to know, but it's just a great reminder that this stuff is not an automatic transition from one level to the next, especially as we think about other people we're excited about. There is a process. I hate to use the term, but there is. And maybe part of his process is, okay, that's what you learned from this game. See you next time. And he's a little more what we thought he might be next time out.
Yeah, Sam, let's dig a little deeper into the Sam Mellinger dictionary here.
It's a thin book.
Mine's a pamphlet, so maybe just a folder. So what'd you think, Sam? I don't know what I was expecting last night. I was hoping for his sake that, he'd have a little bit, he'd have more success and go a little deeper in the game. We've seen Royals, pitchers make their major league debuts and have, and pitch better than Jackson Kowar did last night. What was the one or two things that struck you about the debut that you just went, well, I didn't expect that?
I was really surprised. I thought he was going to be really good last night. Really, I didn't, I'm not talking about a shutout or anything like that, but I thought he was going to be good for a lot of reasons. I mean, we talked about how he's performing. I also think that it matters that he has a changeup. Like a really good changeup. I just think that that's a good weapon when you get behind in the count. You can even it up because guys are amped up for the fastball. And he was really well positioned. I did think that he was super nervous. The cameras, when he's on the mound, I mean, his chest is going in, and I mean, and I thought you saw that in his pitches as well. The three wild pitches that you mentioned. And I guess off the top of my head, I can't remember which pitches, went to the backstop. But there was a curveball that went about 54 feet. And, you can't tell me he's not overthrowing that, and there's fastballs that are left up. And then also a remarkable number of his strikes were just right down the middle. It's like when he was hitting the zone, it was right there where the bats are going to be. It was terrible. He was awful. But I don't think that means much going forward, or at least it doesn't have to be. Somebody this morning that I was talking to reminded me that Corey Kluber, it wasn't his first start, but it was his first start of the season. Of his first full season was against the Royals, and the Royals scored 6 off him in the first inning. Tom Glavine, I saw a list of some notable pitchers who had disastrous first starts, and Tom Glavine was number 1 on that list. And I looked up that game, and it was it was an S show. So it doesn't, I just think that this guy's 24 years old. I think they're not bringing up a kid. He pitched in the College World Series. He's pitched in big moments before. So it's just, I was just really shocked. I thought that if anybody, this guy would be calm and ready for the moment, and he just wasn't. So that's on him. I think it's understandable. Nobody's should think he's not a good pitcher now, but that's on him. And he needs to have the confidence in himself to perform at that level, which, I mean, these are the best hitters in the world. You know what I mean? Like this is no small thing, but he's got it in him. He's got everything in him to be a good starting pitcher going forward. And I expect him in his next start, which he'll get, I expect him to be good.
It's kind of tough to, you last only 2/3 of an inning, and then you go to the dugout and you have to sit there for, the rest of the game with the camera panning on you every time that you come up in the conversation. And so there's Jackson Kowar sitting lonely in the dugout. But I actually saw him, with Brady Singer too, trying to, I guess, breaking down the game. Let's hear from Jackson Kowar. Here's what he had to say after his performance on Monday night against the Angels.
For the Royals, 24-year-old Jackson Kowar will make his first start in the big leagues tonight against a potent Angels lineup that is averaging 5.5 runs per game at home this year. Kowar has had a terrific start at AAA and was recently named the AAA East Pitcher of the month of May. Ohtani with the lead at second base.
Anthony Rendon will be the next hitter. What happens on the payoff? It's on its way. It's grounded through the left side. That's going to be a base hit. Shohei Ohtani's going to be waved home. He better hurry. Here comes the throw. He'll score. And an RBI hit by Anthony Rendon gives the Angels a 1-0 lead.
Great at-bat by Anthony Rendon. Kowar comes back with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, but this one catches the heart of the plate. Rendon, again, hits it hard.
For now, the Angels have runners at second and third, where a hit could mean 2 more runs. Into center field, hangs up, but not long enough to be caught. It's an RBI. The Angels add another, and they lead it. Mad Max keeps just hitting and hitting and hitting since getting healthy. 2-0.
And moving up to second base is Stassi in the third wild pitch of the inning.
High bouncing ball. That will plate another run for the Angels. An RBI for Iglesias. That'll bring up the 7th hitter here in the inning, Juan Lagares. Lagares into right field. Down for a base hit. The Angels lead it 4-0. Oh, a 2-out RBI feels good.
And another base hit with a runner in scoring position.
So Jackson Kowar's big league debut goes 39 pitches, and he gives up 4 runs in the bottom of the first inning.
Hey, we didn't hear from Kowar then, but we saw it, and I think that was just as ugly. And Lynn, did Jackson Kowar say anything after the game? What did he say about just how he felt about it and his nerves? What did Jackson say?
He actually said that he thought nerves was really only the first couple of batters, and then after that, it was just not being able to execute pitches. But I mean, watching it, like Sam mentioned, you could see him breathing, like the chest and shoulders up and down, and it was, and I remember Daniel Lynch's debut. There was a shot of him when he got back to the dugout after his first inning, sort of giving a big exhale, like, whew. And I remember thinking, and Mike Matheny said this, and of course he's going to, be optimistic. But I remember actually while the game was going on, thinking that maybe if he could get through the first inning, that he might settle in and look more like what we might expect that he would look like. But he just never got there. And when you look at even that clip we just showed, it wasn't like they were hitting balls off of the wall and they didn't hit out of the park, and it was all I believe it was all singles and then walks is what did the damage, and then obviously yanking those wild pitches. He just he said it was really the execution, but I think he mentioned the Ohtani at bat as one, and that was a walk where he just he could still feel himself sort of heart racing and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. I feel like that had more. It had more the atmosphere, the moment, the making your big league debut had more to do with the results than just the first couple of batters. But that's what he said afterwards.
Yeah. Look, it was where I go with this now is the 2018 draft class, because now, correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 of them are now in the rotation. With Bubic, Singer, and Kowar, at least in the short term, right?
For right now, yeah, and then of course Lynch is at AAA, and 4 of them have made starts this year in the rotation. And I mean, and we've seen Bubic, for a guy who was there all last year, he had to take that step back, and now we've seen him take a step forward this year after pitching out of the bullpen. But it's not, like Sam was sort of like what Sam was talking about. It's not a linear thing where it's like, okay, he was on this track and, he was looking really good in AAA. And so then he's going to move up to the majors and he's going to keep on making it. It doesn't go straight line like that. It would be, things would be a whole lot easier and a lot different if he was just like, okay, guy looked good in AAA and you get him to the majors and this is how he's going to look. But it doesn't work that way. Not for many guys at all.
Can we draw a parallel, Sam, to, where the 2018 pitchers are now to maybe 2011 when, Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas made their debuts, Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar just come over. They were young and not major league ready seemingly at the time. And of course, great things happened to, with those players on those teams. It's like I'm talking pitching versus batting order here, but can you feel optimistic in that way?
I think that's the hope. I think that's what the Royals are hoping for. I think in that 2011 season, and Vahe, you might want to double check me on this, but I think this is right. They were over 500. I believe they were like a game or two over 500 from a certain date when those guys started coming up. I think maybe the Salvi date in Tampa going forward, they were above 500. And those guys, for the most part, I mean, everybody's going to have their ups and their downs, but those guys, at least in my memory, performed pretty well right off the bat, especially Salvi. God, he was hitting over 300. maybe that was before Major League Baseball realized he'd swing at anything. But, these guys, I think, are similarly talented, and it's a little awkward comparing pitchers to position players. But, this class, and I think it'll include Bobby Witt Jr. Pretty soon, him and these pitchers that we're talking about, they're as talented as, collectively as Moustakas, Perez, Hosmer, those guys. It takes time. And, I think we need to probably, like, statistically, I think if you looked at history would tell you that one of those four guys is going to bomb, and or get hurt and just not have an effective big league career and maybe more. And if you can get one to be really good, and one or two others to be a good contributor, that's still a really good draft class. And, and it's a weird deal because I don't know how deep in the weeds we want to get in this, but, Singer needs to develop a third pitch, and Daniel Lynch. I keep seeing Andrew Miller and Daniel Lynch, but, if he's an 8th or 9th inning wipeout guy, like that's pretty good. And if Jackson Kowar, he's got all the pieces, he's got multiple pitches, and he's got, despite what we saw last night, he's got some guts, he's got some confidence, and I think that he is going to get his feet under him and perform. And if those kinds of things can happen, then that's going to be, a cornerstone for this thing to turn around, just like that 2011. That wasn't a draft class. But that was kind of a class that came up together in a lot of ways. And then was Hosmer the next May? Was he May of 2012?
He was 11.
Definitely May. So he was the first one up, and then Salvi was kind of like, that's what it was. You're right. And then Salvi was kind of like the planting the flag down and moving forward. So I do think that. Look, put it like this: if that 2018 draft class isn't effective and productive, then the Royals have a lot of really major problems.
That's what I was going to ask you, Vahe. If it doesn't work out with this 2018, top of the order draft class, I don't. The Royals don't have a future, do they? Well,
they've certainly planted the flag on this, to borrow Sam's term. I mean, I think that this was the declaration of whatever else has been going on, that this is the hope for the future, right? The core hope for the future. I mean, there's certainly other things. And as Dayton has said, one thing they find urgent is that trying to scrunch together the time that Salvi, Mondesi, and Bobby Witt Jr. will have on the field, for instance. That's a core thought of theirs. And that requires a few moving parts to fall into place. But, the other thing with this rotation, it's with this foursome anyway, you guys have all said this in some form or another, but each guy is going to be on his own pace. And, we'll learn some stuff from the history of it. But in a way, Singer's the most exemplary aspect of this, right? Just because we've seen him over a little bit of a haul now, and we've certainly seen some progress, but we've certainly seen that he's still a little volatile in some ways. And I think maybe he's a good thing to focus on, just in terms of understanding that whatever pace these guys are on, there's going to be bumps. We've obviously seen it with a couple of them already. And I don't think you can think they're going to be the fully formed deal this year. I think an interesting question is, if you're looking towards 2022 and 2023 as being what you hope are more abundantly promising years, how much does them being here now, if all of them are here now, help towards that, or is it possibly counterproductive if they're struggling here? So there's a lot of questions like that a lot of people get paid big money to handle.
Yeah, look, I think you take your lumps with these guys now, and the fact that they're playing 500, right, 29 and 29 with without Mondesi, who we'll talk about after a break, and with Jorge Soler and Hunter Dozier struggling, although it was great to see Hunter Dozier pick up 3 hits last night, including his first opposite field hit of the year. Maybe that'll kickstart him. But the fact that they have the record that they do with who they've put out there, and they seem to have been less than 100% all season, I think that's progress. So, hey, Larry Looper says, Kowar will be fine. Remember your first day at work. I got lost on my going to work on my first day, and
I blacked that out. I'm not.
Right.
I dominated my first day. All we did was go out to lunch, and then Fitz was like, "Okay, that's it."
Yeah, I was gonna say the training went pretty well. I'm trying to remember what I filled out a lot of paperwork. That's what I remember. I filled out a lot of paperwork. But I would, Blair, you know what? Let me just throw in there, because we're talking about that pitching class. There was a whole lot of people when we went into spring training talking about how they should just go all in on the young pitchers, and they don't want to see them trotting out Mike Minor and Jacob Junis and whoever else. And it's like, this is why you need guys, okay? If you go back and look at, and I still, this is not anything against, Lynch or Kowar, because I think they, these guys are obviously really talented guys and have a chance to be really good. But if you went into the season just rolling, 4 guys out there who had the total of, I think it was like 20 starts in the big leagues in empty stadiums, and said, this is what we're going to go with all year, people would be losing their minds right now. But they all this, we don't want veteran guys. We don't want this. Okay. There's enough of that, okay? Like next time somebody says that to me on social media about how we just need to roll in, whoever it is, whether it's Bobby Witt Jr. or something like that, let me just direct you to last night's game.
Can I say something real quick? I'm not trying to hijack the show, but I just want to say that I am emphatically in favor of Lynn's evolution into just continually mocking Twitter on this show every week. It's the best. It's the absolute best. I'm all in.
Well, I'd say in support of Lynn's idea here that if you like the 16-9 start and you like the way they responded to the 11-game losing streak, then you can appreciate the veteran pitchers that they had, because they helped build that early record and help them get out of the Keller and Minor. Keller's not a good example, but Minor certainly.
Danny Duffy.
And Danny Duffy, absolutely. Quick thought, Lynn. When do we expect him back?
It sounded like the last update we got was when they were in Kansas City. He was throwing. It sounded like he was starting to ramp up a little bit. It's still not certain how soon it's going to be. I mean, especially when you figure they brought up Kowar, and they're definitely looking at him staying in the rotation. So it doesn't seem like it's imminent. Matheny had said pretty early on last week that he was not going to be in the conversation for that start that ended up being Kowar, which meant that they knew he wasn't right on the verge. And it's a couple of weeks out, and a few starts. I'm not sure what that means as far as a rehab assignment. If they're going to want to get him, at the last point that we got an update, he hadn't thrown off the mound yet. So I think it's still a little ways away, but they were encouraged. And it's been a couple of weeks now, but there was nothing that indicated that there was any sort of a setback or anything like that.
Okay, we'll head to a break on this from Mike Garcia. There's a lot to be optimistic about with the pitchers chosen by the Royals in the 2018 draft. Bubic made promising strides in 2021. Singer keeps showing the stuff and poise. Perhaps consistency is a factor. And Mike, I agree with you. I do. And I agree that this is a solid core for years to come. At least I hope you're right. So let's hear from the University of Kansas medical system.
The Kansas City Royals lineup is backed up by the region's strongest team in healthcare, the University of Kansas Health System. We both suit up with one goal in mind: to win. the University of Kansas Health System, official healthcare provider of the Royals.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Okay, Lynn, back to you on this. Adalberto Mondesi, I want you to take us through the process of from the injury Monday night, the Monday night ESPN game where he's the star of the show, right? The long home run, and on the eighth inning, ground out where he makes a terrific play, tweaks the hamstring, gets pinch hit for the bottom of the eighth to lead off the eighth inning, and we haven't seen him since. So, the crazy thing to me was all the reports, over the next 24 to 48 hours were positive, and he was not put on the injured list, but now he is, and it's backdated. And just let's go through what the Royals are saying about Adalberto Mondesi.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of hope and optimism, and I'm reading into it, and I'm just wondering whether or not they just didn't want to jump immediately to an injured list stint right after he had just gotten off of one, and with his history, and I know for him, he obviously it's getting to the point where he wants to try and stay off the IL, but hamstrings are also tricky. In any sport, I don't know a hamstring that gets better within a couple days. It's always, especially for a guy like him who's a speed guy. But what it went from, okay, he felt better the next morning. I think there was some hope that, okay, if you give it a little bit of time, they're going to test it out a little bit day by day and see where he was at. And there was talk of, okay, maybe one of these days he'll be able to be used off of the bench, which is sort of what you saw with Jorge Soler, who had that groin injury. They knew he wasn't going to be able to play right away. You saw Olivares come up, but then there was a few days where it was like, okay, he's available off of the bench. And then a day or so after that, it was okay, he's full go and he's back in the lineup. So I think they were sort of hoping for something like that, but it just never got there. He did early work each day, and it just didn't sound like he was able to go full speed. And at that point, it's like, well, you can't avoid the IL stint. If he's going to need that much time, he's not going to be able to go full out, and you're still going to be worried about him re-injuring it or making it worse, and you're sort of playing, somewhat shorthanded by still having him active and not using that roster spot, then it didn't make sense after a while. Okay, well, we know we know what fans are saying, right? That he's a player that can't be counted upon for his presence. As these are the injuries, the oblique to open the season, and now a hamstring or the soft tissue injuries that, look, they're nagging for sure, and you do have to wait them out. But 7 games, we've seen Mondesi play. He was terrific in those 7 games. He was fantastic. But are we approaching a point, Vahe, with Mondesi that you can begin to question his? I don't know. Does he have the? Can he differentiate between playing hurt and playing injured, and what are we to make of Mondesi and his unavailability?
It's sort of the question for our times, because if you look at it, he's still 25, right? I think he turns 26 on July 27th or something like that. And so it's, on one hand, you think he's been around a little while. On the other hand, you realize he's still pretty young. we've seen the upside, we've seen the ceiling, and let's leave Bobby Witt Jr. out of the discussion for now, just because we're not seeing him yet up here, and it'll probably at least be some weeks, I guess. But among the guys that are on this team, I think we can safely say he's got the highest upside. So I said this to Lynn the other day, we were just chatting. I think you think the same genes that make him seem a bit injury prone are the genes that make him quite exceptional as a package. And so the question is, okay, how do you deal with that? And I think, to me, the upside is still my guiding light here. And it's entirely possible this is going to plague him all his career. But to me, it's also entirely possible that some of these things have just been a run of bad luck. The types of injuries that are nagging, and maybe he's not going to have this afflicting him all through his career. That sounds a little, as I say those words coming out of my mouth, it sounds a little Pollyanna-like and a little too optimistic. But I just think that you got to keep your hopes on this guy. I think he's too important, and I know there's people that want to see him go. I mean, to Lynn's gang on Twitter, that's I'm sure that's the case in some places, but to me, it strikes me as a classic case. If this guy ever ends up on another team in the near future, it's going to be ruinous to Royals fans, because you're going to see the upside. It'll just happen that way.
Oh, he'll destroy the Royals. I mean, there's no doubt about that. He would probably end up in the division and get to kill the Royals 18 or 19 times a year. So, all right, Sam, let's have it.
Yeah, let's hear it, Sam.
Yeah, knowing full well that the Royals have a shortstop in Omaha right now playing very well.
Yeah, and with a history of durability as well.
Who doesn't miss games.
Yeah. As my friend Steven St. John said the other day, Alcides Escobar will never get hurt, even if you want him to. he will be in the lineup no matter what. No, I mean, I think that, if I can join Lynn's dunk show just for a quick second, wanting Mondesi gone is lunacy, just absolute insanity. But I do think we're at this point where you can't count on the guy. You just can't. And shortstop is the worst position to have this on, because pitchers, you have enough pitchers and there's moving parts. There's not a lot of teams that have two guys that can play above average defensive big league shortstop. The Royals certainly don't. There is a huge drop between Alcides Escobar as a shortstop and Nicky Lopez as a shortstop. But they are in this weird spot, I think, now where I don't think they can depend on Mondesi to be healthy. And maybe that means spending a little bit more of your limited payroll on somebody that can play shortstop. Maybe he's also a second baseman. Maybe he's Bobby Witt Jr. I don't know. But you kind of need somebody else that can play that position, because it's frustrating as hell. And it's frustrating. I don't want to get this is not like a Mondesi is soft kind of thing, but there has been, I mean, even when he was in the minor leagues, you heard people saying, he's just got to figure out the difference between injured and something that he can play through. And I think there was some hope or expectation that would come as he got a little bit older. And also, not insignificantly, he's arbitration eligible. I think there was some hope that once you start playing for money like that, things change. I mean, that's the way this business works. So that hasn't happened. Again, I'm not saying that he should play through this hamstring injury, but I am saying that they delayed putting him on the DL or the IL for a few days, which is a sign that the team thought it was something that he might be able to play through. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Mondesi, I know, is frustrated as hell about this as well. But I just don't think that going forward, the Royals can let themselves be in a position where they don't have another guy that can play that position.
Look, you can't. Nicky Lopez is not the shortstop of the future for this team. He just isn't. He's the stopgap. And look, this was a guy that wasn't going to be with the team coming out of spring training. and is with the team because of the original Mondesi injury. So it's just, I don't know. Again, I'll go back to something we talked about earlier. The Royals have played all but 7 games this year without their, not their best. Yeah, you can call them their best player, but certainly the player with the greatest potential. And they're still a 500 ball club, without him, which I think speaks well for what this team has put together so far this season. We'll see. We'll see. I believe so. They backdated, right, Lynn? They backdated it to, was it June 4th, I believe, and
yes,
something like that. So he'll
June 4th. Yeah,
14th is when he could come off. The Royals. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I think they'll finish this West Coast road trip, I believe, by then, and they'll be home next week. So maybe we'll see Mondesi back then. Just frustrating to. It reminds me a little bit, Sam and Vahe, of and Lynn, you were covering the team that year, the Eric Berry year, right? Of he was
Ooh, Blair.
Yeah, went there.
No, but I actually do think that is instructive, because I think that's an example of, and again, I'm not saying anybody's soft, but for an athlete to perform, there's got to be 2 yeses. The medical staff has to say yes, and the player has to say yes. And if the medical staff says yes, that doesn't mean that the player has to say yes, or that the player is soft if he doesn't. The player has to know his body better than anybody else. But I actually think that's a very instructive local analogy, and people aren't going to like it, but I think that's a real thing.
I've been trying to avoid using the term literally day to day.
Well, we heard that term every day, day to day.
Yes, and we also heard it did. I mean, those couple of days, it was only he missed 4 games. There was an off day mixed in there too. But to hear progress every day that did harken back to the Andy Reid. He's making progress, because he was making progress for, was it 4 months? I think Eric Berry was.
Yeah.
And when. Who was it? Was it Andy or Rick that said literally day to day? But when they said that, I felt like they were in on the joke. They were like, all right, guys, I know, but literally day to day.
Big difference in those scenarios. Eric Berry was, at the end of his career, right? There would only be one more season, and Mondesi's at the, close to the beginning of his career. Hopefully he comes back soon, and he will pick up where he left off, just as he did when he look, he had the hottest, 3 weeks at the end of last season, was incredible, and just picked up where he left off this year. So, okay, guys, it was hang on. Mike Garcia says Lorenzo Cain got hurt a lot as well. Absolutely right. Lorenzo Cain was, I always used to, when Lorenzo Cain was beating out like an infield hit or something, he would take that long step to first base, that long last step. I just thought, oh no, here it goes. Here it goes. But you're right, Mike. Lorenzo Cain got hurt a lot as well. So fingers crossed that Mondesi will be back soon, and he'll pick up where he left off. So we'll do the same thing. We'll pick up where we left off next week, next Tuesday. Please join us. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and big thanks to Vahe Gregorian, Sam Mellinger, Lynn Worthy, and our producer, Beth Welsh. Thanks to all of you for joining us today, and to the University of Kansas Health System. We'll talk to you again in a week. That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, and Lynn Worthy for Talking Royals. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Got another deal for you. You can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. Sports Pass is the online version of the Star's sports section. You get all the stories that appear in the print editions of the Star, plus more stories that appear only on the website, like Sam's Mellinger Minutes. That's on kansascity.com right now. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. You want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional national news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. That's a lot of dots and dashes. If you're having trouble hunting down any of the offers, send me an email, bkirkhoff@kcstar.com, and I will get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Wednesday with another episode.